The world we know today was forged in the fires of a single Sunday morning. A moment when the peace of a tropical paradise was shattered by the roar of engines and the sting of betrayal. Today, we journey back to the smoke-filled skies of Hawaii to witness a tragedy that transformed a nation and awakened a sleeping giant. I am Robert Zach, and welcome to another episode of America Remembered. In this series, we explore the stories that define the American spirit. The moments of absolute grit, sacrifice, and the unwavering philosophy of success that turned a catastrophic defeat into a global triumph. Prepare yourself as we step through the gates of history to remember a day that changed everything forever. On December 7, 1941, the United States stood at a crossroads of history. While the Pacific breeze carried the scent of hibiscus, the gears of war were already turning thousands of miles away. For years, tensions between Washington and Tokyo had reached a boiling point, fueled by strict economic sanctions and a devastating oil embargo that threatened to paralyze the Japanese Empire. Admiral Yamamoto, a man of vision and strategy, knew that Japan could not win a long, drawn-out war against American industrial might. His plan was desperate and bold, a preemptive strike known as Operation Z. The objective was clear: neutralize the U.S. Pacific Fleet in one decisive blow to secure resources in Southeast Asia, and force a peace that would favor the rising sun. As the sun began to rise over the islands, 6 Japanese aircraft carriers sat silently in the deep waters of the Pacific. At 6 a.m., the first wave of 183 fighters, bombers, and torpedo planes roared into the morning sky. Ironically, the warning signs were there, ignored by a twist of fate. A radar station at Opana Point detected a large formation of aircraft approaching from the north, but the operators were told not to worry. The commanders believed these were merely scheduled B-17 bombers arriving from the mainland. This error in judgment allowed the enemy to close the distance undetected, while the sailors of the Pacific Fleet ate breakfast and prepared for a peaceful Sunday service. The silence of the morning was about to be replaced by the thunder of absolute chaos. At exactly 7:48 a.m., the first torpedoes sliced through the calm blue waters of the harbor. The attack was a masterclass in coordination and terror. Within minutes, the giants of the Navy were under siege. The USS Arizona, the pride of the fleet, became the center of a nightmare. A single armor-piercing bomb struck the forward magazine, triggering a cataclysmic explosion that lifted the massive ship out of the water. In a heartbeat, 1,177 souls were lost, entombed within the twisted steel of their own vessel. The air was thick with the smell of burning oil and the screams of men fighting for survival. This was the moment the world stopped, as the smoke from the Arizona rose into the sky, creating a black shroud that would haunt the American memory for generations to come. The devastation did not end with the Arizona. Just minutes after the first strike, the USS Oklahoma was hit by a barrage of 5 torpedoes, its hull torn open as the massive ship began to roll. In less than 12 minutes, the Oklahoma capsized, trapping hundreds of men beneath the waterline in a dark, watery grave. Nearby, the USS West Virginia was suffering a similar fate, struck by 7 torpedoes and 2 bombs. The ship began to sink, but through the heroic efforts of its crew, it settled on an even keel, preventing it from capsizing like the Oklahoma. In the middle of this firestorm, the courage of the American sailor began to shine. Men who had never seen combat were now diving into oil-slicked waters to save their brothers, proving that while the steel could be broken, the human spirit was just beginning to fight back. A Among the chaos and the choking black smoke, a hero emerged whose name would be etched into history forever. Doris Miller, a mess attendant on the West Virginia, had no formal training in heavy weaponry. Yet when the bombs fell, he did not hesitate. He moved his wounded captain to safety before manning a .50 caliber anti-aircraft machine gun. With no prior experience, he aimed at the swarming Japanese planes, firing until his ammunition ran out. For his incredible bravery under fire, Miller became the first African American to be awarded the Navy Cross, a testament to the fact that courage knows no rank or color. His story became a beacon of hope for a nation in shock, proving that even in the darkest hour, an individual with a definiteness of purpose can stand against the tides of destruction and change the course of a battle. By 8:54 a.m., the second wave of 171 Japanese aircraft arrived to finish what the first had started. They targeted secondary ships, hangars, and airfields, leaving the islands of Hawaii in a state of absolute ruin. However, amidst this tactical success, the Japanese commanders made a strategic oversight that would haunt them for the rest of the war. They decided against a third strike, leaving the massive fuel depots, repair shops, and submarine bases completely untouched. Most importantly, the American aircraft carriers, the true prizes of the Pacific, were not in the harbor that morning. Admiral Yamamoto's gamble had destroyed the battleships of the past, but he had failed to eliminate the tools of the future. The physical damage was immense, but the infrastructure required for a massive American counterattack remained standing, waiting for the giant to wake. As the last Japanese planes disappeared over the horizon around 9:45 a.m., the true scale of the tragedy began to emerge. The harbor was a graveyard of twisted metal and burning oil. The final count was staggering: 2,403 Americans dead and 1,178 wounded. On the USS Arizona alone, more than 1,000 men remained trapped forever. For the survivors, the air was filled with a haunting silence, broken only by the crackle of flames and the distant sirens of Honolulu's fire departments. The myth of American invulnerability had been shattered in less than 2 hours. But as the sun set over the ruins of Pearl Harbor, the shock was already beginning to turn into a cold, hard resolve. A nation that had been divided by isolationism was now unified by a single, burning desire for justice and the strength to rebuild. On December 8, 1941, the silence of shock was broken by a voice that would echo through the corridors of history forever. President Franklin D. Roosevelt stood before Congress. His tone was steady. His message was clear.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
He called it a date which will live in infamy, and in that single moment, a divided nation was forged into a singular, unbreakable weapon. You see, as we look at these events today, it is incredible to witness how a catastrophic surprise can become the exact catalyst needed to ignite a people's true potential. Roosevelt didn't just ask for a declaration of war. He asked for a commitment to total victory. The isolationists disappeared overnight, replaced by millions of citizens who shared a common goal. This was the first great lesson of Pearl Harbor, that when a mind is fixed on a definite purpose, even the most devastating blow becomes merely a stepping stone toward greatness. The Japanese Admiral Yamamoto is often credited with saying, "I fear all we have done is to awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve." Whether or not the words were spoken exactly as remembered, the reality was undeniable. The United States was no longer a bystander in a global conflict. The attack on Pearl Harbor unified Americans across every state, every city, and every household. Men who had spent their lives in quiet desperation on farms and in factories suddenly found a reason to fight, a reason to stand tall. This unification was the birth of a collective mastermind, a harmony of effort that would soon overwhelm the enemy. The shock of the burning ships in Hawaii was rapidly being replaced by a relentless energy to rebuild, to fight, and to win. As the entire nation prepared to move as one giant, unstoppable machine. This resolve found its greatest expression in the factories and shipyards of America. The nation's industrial might was transformed almost overnight into what Roosevelt called the arsenal of democracy. Production lines that once churned out automobiles for families were now re-engineered to produce tanks, bombers, and warships at a pace the world had never seen. Visionaries like Henry Ford applied their mastery of mass production to the war effort, turning out B-24 Liberator bombers by the thousands. This was the principle of applied knowledge in its most powerful form. Millions of women entered the workforce, filling the roles left by men who had gone to the front, proving that when a society is aligned with a common vision, no obstacle is too great. The economic engine that had been stalled by the Great Depression was now roaring with a fire that would soon burn across the Pacific. In his philosophy of success, Napoleon Hill emphasized that definiteness of purpose is the starting point of all achievement. Pearl Harbor provided that purpose for every American citizen. The tragedy was no longer just a loss of ships and lives. It was the fuel for a burning desire to overcome a temporary defeat. Hill taught that a failure is only permanent if you accept it as such, and the American people refused to accept defeat. They understood that the fires of December 7th had cleared away the fog of doubt. With a clear goal and an unwavering plan, the nation began the long and difficult task of reclaiming the Pacific. Every rivet driven into a hull, every shell loaded into a crate, was a step toward a victory that was already won in the minds of the people. They were no longer victims of a surprise attack. They were the architects of a global liberation. In the wake of the disaster, the responsibility for rebuilding the fleet fell to Admiral Chester Nimitz. When he arrived in Hawaii and looked at the ruins of his command, he didn't see only the wreckage. He saw the spirit of the men who remained. Nimitz understood the principle of the mastermind, the coordination of knowledge and effort between two or more people for a definite purpose. He gathered the best strategic minds, the most capable engineers, and the most determined sailors to turn the tide. He knew that the Japanese had missed the fuel depots and the repair shops, a vital mistake that allowed the American Navy to recover far faster than anyone expected. With a vision that extended beyond the horizon, Nimitz began planning the counterstrikes that would soon shock the Japanese Empire, proving that a prepared mind can turn the ruins of today into the triumph of tomorrow. Only 6 months after the tragedy at Pearl Harbor, the American Navy delivered a blow that changed the course of history forever at the Battle of Midway. It was a test of intelligence, courage, and perfect timing, a direct result of the mastermind strategy applied by Admiral Nimitz. By intercepting Japanese codes, the Americans prepared an ambush that caught the enemy completely off guard. In a single afternoon, 4 Japanese aircraft carriers were sent to the bottom of the ocean, effectively ending their expansion in the Pacific. This victory proved that a temporary defeat, no matter how painful, is never a final failure. It showed the world that the American spirit had not only survived the fire, it had been tempered by it. The hunters of December 7th were now the hunted, as the tide of war shifted decisively toward victory. With the initiative now in their hands, American forces began the brutal and grueling campaign across the Pacific Islands. From the humid jungles of Guadalcanal to the blood-stained sands of Tarawa, the American Marine became a symbol of relentless grit and persistence. Every step forward was paid for with sweat and blood, as the enemy fought with a fanaticism that tested the very limits of human endurance. These battles were not just tactical maneuvers. They were a profound demonstration of Napoleon Hill's concept of personal initiative. Young men who had never left their hometowns learned to adapt, to innovate, and to overcome the most hostile environments on Earth. They transformed themselves from civilians into an elite fighting force, driven by the memory of the brothers they lost in the smoke of Hawaii and a burning desire to ensure that such a tragedy would never happen again. While the battles raged in the Pacific, a quiet revolution was happening at home. The American family became the backbone of the war effort, sacrificing every luxury to support the front lines. Rationing, scrap metal drives, and war bonds became a way of life. This collective sacrifice was the ultimate expression of a nation in harmony. A mastermind consisting of millions of people working toward a single goal. The social fabric of America changed forever as women took on roles that were previously unthinkable, proving their strength and capability in the industrial heart of the country. This era taught us that when a nation finds its definiteness of purpose, the economy and the spirit of the people can reach heights that were once considered impossible. From the ashes of Pearl Harbor, a new, more powerful American society was emerging, ready to lead the world into a new era. Napoleon Hill famously stated that every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent benefit. At first glance, Pearl Harbor seemed like a total disaster. But in reality, it was the necessary catalyst for the victory that followed. The attack forced the United States to modernize its military, to unify its people, and to unleash its industrial potential. Without the shock of December 7th, the transition from an isolationist nation to a global superpower might never have happened. The pain of the loss was real, but it provided the clarity of vision required to build a fleet that was stronger, faster, and more advanced than anything the world had ever seen. The ships that were repaired after the attack went on to lead the liberation of the Pacific, proving that what doesn't destroy you truly does make you stronger. The seed of advantage had grown into a tree of liberty that would soon overshadow the forces of tyranny. As we look back at the history of Pearl Harbor, we must see beyond the explosions and the wreckage. We must see the lesson that remains for all of us today. Life will strike us with surprise attacks, moments that knock us down and leave us wondering if we can ever get back up. But the story of this harbor is a story of the comeback. It is proof that a determined mind, backed by a burning desire and a clear plan, cannot be defeated forever. The Americans who stood on these burning decks didn't just fight for a piece of land. They fought for a principle. They showed us that the greatest power on Earth is not a fleet of ships or a squadron of planes. It is the human will, aligned with a definite purpose. As you face your own challenges, remember the giant that woke up on that Sunday morning. Remember that your greatest victory is often hidden right behind your hardest hit. The road that began in the ruins of Pearl Harbor finally ended in August 1945. The Japanese surrender was not just a military conclusion. It was the final chapter in a story of absolute resilience. The world that emerged from the conflict was forever changed, led by a nation that had discovered its true strength through the fire of adversity. Today, the USS Arizona Memorial stands as a silent sentinel over the harbor, a place of reflection and honor. It serves as a reminder of the price of freedom and the importance of vigilance. But more than that, it is a monument to the American spirit, a spirit that refuses to stay down, that rebuilds what is broken, and that turns tragedy into triumph. The legacy of Pearl Harbor is not just about the ships we lost. It is about the nation we became, proving once and for all that with the right mindset, even the dark of infamy can be turned into the light of lasting victory. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the history and philosophy behind the awakening of the American giant. Here at America Remembered, we hope this story of resilience and purpose inspires you to face your own battles with the same unwavering spirit that defined a generation. If you found value in this journey through time, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel to help us keep these stories alive for the next generation. Your support allows us to continue exploring the moments that shaped our world and the principles of success that never grow old. Leave a comment below and let us know what part of the Pearl Harbor story moved you the most, and how you apply the lessons of resilience in your own life. Until next time, stay focused, stay determined, and keep the flame of success burning bright in everything you do.